video, let us talk about Rahu in the second house. But before that, let's recap one thing from the first video. From the first video, we knew that Sarbhanu, who later became Rahu, came and sat between the illuminaries, sun and the moon, to partake his share of the nectar, or Amrita, the exiliar of life. In doing so, he got his head chopped off. And finally, he moved out from between the luminaries. Let us move into the esoteric zone. We see during the eclipse where Rahu comes in between the sun and moon, shadowing them, creating a veil between them. Rahu is said to be the master illusionist and also represents the veil. When Rahu comes in a position such that it is between sun and the moon, then the illuminaries are hidden. That is, the connect between the mind and the soul is very much missing. In that case, a person would not be able to understand a lot of happenings around him because they are all covered and they're all governed by his perception of things, because the master illusionist Rahu is at work. Once these planets, that is the illuminaries, sun and the moon, start moving away from the position very close to Rahu, things come to light. So after the eclipse, it's very possible that one realizes a number of facts as relating to the houses where Rahu is positioned in the natal chart and also in transit. The sun and moon, by the representation of the houses in the zodiac for us, give us a lot of clue, and a lot of revelations happen after the eclipses. So this period of nearly 1.5 to 2 months for us bears a great importance, because after the eclipses we would come to know a lot of facts which are important for us, and as such bring us closer to our soul. So now let us move on to Rahu in the second house. Rahu in the second house gives a person a strong need to develop an educated and wealthy self. So let us see how this manifests for a number of people. But before that, the karakas of Rahu. Harsh speech and sarcasm. This is something that we will be seeing in the second house, because second house is very much associated with speech. However, if it is aspected by a benefic, it gives one a very witty speech. Strong at twilight. So the time of dusk and dawn is said to be governed, have a very strong influence of Rahu. In fact, it is said that the Rakshasas get a lot of bal or a lot of energy during the twilights, going to a different country, traveling, fantasies, suspicious, gambling, falsehood. Again, speech and lie can be associated with that. Interpretation of dreams, worship of Ma Durga, enemies of the luminaries, criminals. So any criminal activity can be associated with this house also. Expansion, immortal, yes, after partaking the nectar or the exiliar of life, it became an immortal. Expansion and occult knowledge. Anger is an emotion that Rahu flares a lot. It is the master illusionists as ever. The second house is typical association of Dhana and Kutum. That is, Dhana means wealth, Kutum means family. It also rules over boyhood, tastes and education. So very important part of the second house is education. It rules over the face, and more specifically the lower face. Timing is boyhood, and the mental makeup is very much about memory and imagination. It has a lot of financial aspect to it also. Profits and gains, fortunes, movable property and money matters, gems, bonds is associated with it, and it shows great aptitude in the fields of speech, vision, power and music. So we have a lot to do with the career of education and speech. Saving and investments from, so what does the second house represent? The representations of the second house are savings, investments, riches, unafflicted property, deprivation of wealth if it is afflicted, and lot of collection of valuables or important items by spouse or lover or beloved. Ailments to ears, eyes, especially ailments on all the parts of the face can be seen from here, and the thyroid gland is also associated with Rahu. Enjoyment with the second house. Enjoyment, luxury, and comforts, cheating and getting cheated in the matters of money, beautification of the home, death of the self, risk of limb, injury to spouse or step brother or sister related through father, treaty between nations, compromise with the enemies, and we have art pieces collection because it is also the second house. The second house is associated with all forms of riches. We also have the mental attitude to help or to refuse help to society in general. Gains from immediate family. We have illness, injury, death of paternal grandmother and maternal grandfather. Lots of things in the purview. So what does Rahu in the second house deal with? It shows the need to manage its own resources. Yes, we've seen finance is a very strong aspect of Rahu. So it shows the need to manage own resources, a need to create his or her own destiny, and there's a strong craving to create a financial status. Speech can be sarcastic or hurtful if afflicted. If aspected by a benefit, a witty and a humorous speech can be seen. When Rahu is typically associated with its higher octave in the second house, we see a very witty and a very comeback kind of a speech. Whereas if it is associated with a malefic and associated with the lower octave, then there's a lot of sarcasm, there's a need to improve on your language on all grounds. They're driven by the desire for material achievements and a mind which is truly bent in acquiring knowledge, a craving for money and wealth. On a higher octave, there is a love for poor and the downtrodden, and the strong hand of management is at work. John Bardeen, a very special person in the world of Nobel Prizes because he's the only man to have got 2 Nobel Prizes in the same field. In fact, there have been only 4 Nobel Prize winners who have won it 2 times over. One of them is John Bardeen, and he was an American physicist and electric engineer. He won the Nobel Prize in physics the first time for the invention of transistor. This transistor changed the entire face of electronic industry and the new age. The communication that you and I are so fond of today is one of the building factors based on John Bardeen's invention. John Bardeen, a very unassuming man with all that he has won and all that he has done. His fundamental theory of conventional superconductivity, which won him the 2nd Nobel Prize, is also the reason why we as patients are able to go through the MRI and many such sophisticated medical tests. John Bardeen has been one of those people who, in spite of reaching great heights, have kept a very low profile, maintained a very normal family life, and yet succeeded in his way like no one before. He had to pave his way through college because his mother had passed away and he needed the funds to make it to college. We see a reason, we see a very strong aptitude to look out for your own destiny. He didn't want to take up education, didn't want to become an academician because he has seen his father being one. However, destiny made him walk down the same road. We also see that John Bardeen, with his Rahu in the 2nd house associated with Venus and Mars. Here, this Rahu gave him a lot of structure and a lot of planning. He had decided that he wanted to pursue education because he left a very lucrative job and came back to become a physicist. When He discovered these, and first time round when he had won the Nobel Prize for his invention of the transistor, he was told by King Gustav, who was at that time presenting the awards to all distinguished guests there, to have not, he was chided by King Gustav for not having brought all his three children, only one, and he promised to bring all the three the next time over, and the next time he kept up that promise. So Rahu in the second house also, because it's moving on a higher octave, gave him a speech which was truthful. Here we also see that this Rahu in association with Venus and Mars, Venus the Lagna Lord and Mars the seventh Lord, is sitting in the second house. So this Rahu in association with the sixth Lord of service, the sixth Lord of discretion, and Mars being the seventh Lord of public face, gave him the ability to stand tall in the public, and sixth house also relates to education, gave him a strong education. Sixth house gives him a lot of administrative abilities also. It is known that he forced the Xerox company to keep one of its centers open because he realized it had a lot of potential as regards the center's research and development unit. Linus Carl Pauling, a very sweet man, and by the look of it, a very, very intelligent man, because he is one of those people to have won two Nobel Prizes, and that too in two distinct categories. The first prize that he won was for chemistry, and the second one was for Peace Prize. He was the only person to have got both the Nobel Prizes without having to share it. In the year 2000, he was ranked as one of the leading scientists of the world, and he was said to be the 16th most important scientist of the world. So he had a very strong hold in the world of science. Second house lord shows Rahu, the lord of the fifth house, in the second house, shows a great aptitude for learning, and he paved his way to his education. We see a strong need to get a hold on his own destiny. His mother did not want him to study because she did not believe in a college education. However, he worked at a salary of $8 per week. Later on, he moved on to a salary of $50, collecting money, and once he got into the University of Oregon, he told his mother that he was moving on to a higher education. Always relentlessly pursuing his education, making discoveries in the field of biochemistry, wherein he inspired many like Watson and Crick to come up with the DNA formula. This guy really made the world sit back in terms of biochemistry. Having achieved the Nobel Prize, he did not stop there. His Rahu definitely was resonating on a higher octave. He moved on to fight for such causes such as humanitarian ones, such as campaigning and advocating against nuclear weaponry, a lot of biochemical against which he worked on, peace to the world at large, earning him the second Nobel Prize of the Peace Prize. So we see second house, which is administration, second house, which is wealth, and second house, which is the house of education, is something that this man showed a great deal of craving for. The ability to pave your own destiny is so much marked in this case. Another case that we have is that of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda, a person known to be very serious about laughter. Speech and laughter, we do take it from the second house. He was an educationist, a teacher who was very unassuming, and he had also at one time started his own school. Laughter can bring about a lot of change in the psyche and can help a person grow spiritually. With the help of a few friends in the body-mind associations, he moved on to great heights and he created a niche for himself. Laughter, something as simple, made him so popular, and he, in turn, with earning the money also, he changed lives of so many people. He made them realize that there was life worthwhile waiting for, and how to create your own destiny, how to come out of things like depression, changing life, and moving into spirituality in a very free and fundamentally loving manner. Swami Bionanda created a strong place with education, laughter, speech, while at the same time making himself a very, very rich and a very goal oriented person. When we talk about Rahu and a higher octave, we would know that it should have some influence of the benefics also. Well, Rahu is posited in Taurus and is here aspected by Venus, the Lord of Taurus itself. Robert De Niro has his Rahu in the second house. Robert De Niro again needs no introduction. Robert De Niro was very strong in his conviction that he wanted to do good in the field of drama and cinema. Sitting with the seventh lord, the lord of secondary house of profession, and the 10th lord also the house of profession itself, and in the second house of speech, he was the only actor to have got a role, an Academy Award for speaking in a foreign dialect. Well, Rahu is also foreign and Jupiter is the Karaka of the second house. One of his directors went so much ahead to say that Robert De Niro was a very focused person and he chose to do, when he chose a role, he moved into it inside out. He was one of those people who would go to any length to make sure that the role was authentic when he portrayed it on screen. Coming to the inference, we can see that craving for knowledge and its acquisition and the ability to create wealth through it, while being structural and disciplined, is the most important when Rahu sits in the second house. Do write in your observations, your opinions, so that we all can learn more in a composite manner. Till we meet again, have a nice time and stay safe. Thank you.